Welcome to another chapter Control and Coordination in Biology. Brain, don't touch the hot pan. Hand, it's too late, bro. Ouch. When your favorite maths teacher says, surprise test, how your heart starts pounding at a speed of 200 km per hour. When your stomach tells at 3 a.m., I need food, and brain responds, we are sleeping, bro. So, who is causing all this drama inside your body? It is the control and coordination system, the behind the scenes managers of your life. Growth and movement, as we all know, are the two basic features of living organisms. Growth means an increase in size, height, or number of cells, which usually happens naturally in all living beings, in me and in you also. Plants grow continuously throughout their life, while the animals grow only up to a certain age. Some movements are growth related, while others are not. We associate visible movements with life. We think of movement as a visible response of organism to the environment. But all these movements are carefully controlled. Each type of change in the environment generates a controlled response. For example, pulling your hand away from a hot object responds to heat and pain. Blinking when dust enters the eye responds to irritation. Sweating a lot on a hot day responds to high temperature. Pupils constricting in bright light responds to bright light. And mom responding when you are playing with a mobile. How will she respond? So these are all controlled movements that recognize the various events in the environment, and it is all possible because of the nervous system. In animals, such control and coordination are provided by the nervous and muscular tissues, which we have already studied in class 9. All the information from our environment is detected by the specialized tips of some nerve cells. The receptors of the nerve cells in sense organs are located in specialized cells or tissues within each sense organ that are sensitive to specific stimuli. For example, photoreceptors are present in the retina of the eye to detect light. The receptors of the auditory receptors are located in the inner ear to sense the sound. Olfactory receptors are found in the nasal epithelium to detect the smell, and taste receptors on the tongue. The touch receptors are distributed throughout the skin to sense touch, pressure, pain, and temperature. Examples of hormonal system, the long-term responses. Increase in heart rate during fear or stress due to adrenaline, and the release of insulin when the blood sugar rises after eating. Touching a hot object is an urgent and dangerous situation for us. We need to detect it and respond to it. How do we detect that we are touching a hot object in the first place? All the information from our environment is detected by the specialized tips of the nerve cells. So, how does a nerve cell work? A nerve cell neuron works by receiving, transmitting, and passing on information in the form of electrical and chemical signals. When a receptor in a sense organ detects a stimulus like heat or light, it generates an electrical impulse that travels through the neurons, dendrites, passes through the cell body, and moves along the axon. This is the diagram for that. At the end of the axon, the electrical impulse sets off the release of some chemicals. These chemicals cross the gap or the synapse and start a similar electrical impulse in a dendrite of the next neuron. So, at the end of the axon, the electrical impulse cannot directly jump to the next cell because there is a tiny gap between the two neurons. This gap is called the synapse. To pass the message across this gap, the electrical impulse triggers the release of special chemicals called neurotransmitters from the axon ending. When these chemicals reach the next neuron, they start a new electrical impulse in it. In this way, the message continues to travel from one neuron to another. This is the general mechanism by which nervous impulses travel throughout the body. Finally, a similar type of synapse allows neurons to pass impulses to muscle cells, causing the muscles to contract or relax, gland cells, causing them to secrete hormones or enzymes. And in this way, the synapse helps to communicate quickly. The nervous tissue is made up of organized network of nerve cells or the neurons and is specialized for conducting information via electrical impulse as already told from one part of the body to another nervous tissue. Another nervous tissue is found in the brain, spinal cord and the nerves. If you block your nose and eat sugar, you will still detect the basic sweet taste with your tongue. But you will not experience the full and complex flavor of the sugar because your sense of smell or the aroma is cut off, making the sugar taste less intense and more bland, fika. similar to having cold. Flavor is a combination of thus sweet taste, sour taste, or any other taste and smell. So, without smell, the experience is greatly reduced even if the sweetness is felt. Your tongue's taste buds will still sense the sugar as sweet. The aroma molecules from the food can't travel up to the olfactory receptors in your nose, so the brain gets incomplete information in case you are suffering from cold. Now comes the reflex actions. Reflex means a quick, automatic, and involuntary response of the body to a stimulus without consciously thinking about it. We say, I jumped out of the way of the bus reflexly. I pulled my hand back from the flame reflexly. I was so hungry my mouth started watering reflexly. What exactly do we mean by these? In all these examples, the word reflexly means that the action happens automatically and immediately without conscious thinking or deliberate control. Even though we are responding to the changes in our environment, like a moving bus, a flame, or food in front of our eyes, the brain does not take time to think and decide upon the action. How control and coordination are achieved in such situations? When a sudden or dangerous stimulus is detected, the body uses a reflex action to respond quickly. The receptors in the sense organs, that is, the eyes, skin, nose, tongue, etc., detect the change in the environment, and then the message transmission takes place. The receptors send electrical impulse through the sensory neurons to the spinal cord and not directly to the brain for the immediate action. The spinal cord quickly passes the impulse to the motor neurons, which send the message to the muscles or glands. The muscles contract or the glands secrete, producing a fast protective response like jumping away, pulling the hand back immediately, or the salivation in case of food in front of the eyes. This pathway is called the reflex arc. So the flow chart for the reflex actions are from the receptor to the sensory neurons to the spinal cord, interneuron to the motor neuron and then to the effector, that is the muscle or the gland. The brain is informed after the action is completed. For most reflexes, the reflex arc is formed in the spinal cord and not the brain. This allows for a very quick response without waiting for the brain to think. Unlike withdrawing a hand from a hot object, the eye response is a cranial reflex controlled by the midbrain and not the spinal cord. When the bright light is focused on our eyes, the following sequence of events occurs. Light sensitive photoreceptors in the retina of the eye detect this bright light, and the receptors generate a nerve impulse that travels through the optic nerve, sensory neurons to the brain. Hence, it passes the information to the brain. Then the brain processes the signal and generates a response. The signals are sent back from the brain via motor neurons to the iris muscle. The circular muscles of the iris contract. The pupil shrinks, reducing the amount of light entering the eye to prevent any damage to the eye from this bright light. Here, the effector is the iris muscle, and the response is carried on by the pupil. The eye response is a cranial reflex, therefore, and it is controlled by the midbrain and not only the spinal cord. In animals, the thinking process of brain is not fast enough, so the reflex arc has evolved accordingly in the animals. Now comes the human brain. This is a diagram of the brain. The thinking process in the humans is carried out by the brain, which is the main coordinating center of the nervous system. It allows us to analyze information, make decisions, remember, learn, and respond consciously. The brain and the spinal cord together constitute the central nervous system. They receive information from all over the body and then they integrate it. Thinking involves complex mechanisms and neural connections. These connections are concentrated in the brain. The cerebrum, specifically the motor cortex in the frontal lobe, primarily controls the voluntary actions and are done with conscious effort. Example writing, walking, speaking, playing a game, picking up a book, etc. The cerebrum or the part of the brain controls voluntary actions, and the nerve impulses travel from the brain to the skeletal muscles. This is the other way in which the nervous system communicates with the muscles. The central nervous system or the CNS consists of the brain and the spinal cord. It communicates with the rest of the body through the peripheral nervous system, consisting of the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves, which are arising from the spinal cord. using the nerve impulses. Cranial nerves are the nerves that arise directly from the brain. They help in communication between brain and sense organs, head, neck, and some internal organs. They are 12 pairs of nerves that originate from the brain. This was about the cranial nerves and how they originate. The human brain is divided into three main regions. First is the forebrain, second is the midbrain, and third is the hindbrain. The forebrain is the largest and most developed part of the human brain. It is mainly responsible for thinking, intelligence, memory, emotions, and voluntary actions. This part is used for thinking. It has regions which receive sensory impulses from various receptors. Separate areas of the forebrain are specialized for hearing, smell, sight, etc. So now we are also learning about the specialized regions and the separate areas of the forebrain and in what purpose they are specializing. There are separate areas of association where this sensory information is interpreted by putting it together with information from other receptors as well as with the information already stored in the brain. Based on all this, a decision is made about how to respond. This information is then passed on to the motor areas, which control the movement of voluntary muscles. For example, our leg muscles. The motor areas process intentions and translate them into pattern signals for the body to follow with the different parts, controlling different muscles in organized map like structure. For certain sensations distinct from seeing or hearing like satiety, feeling of fullness after eating, separate part of forebrain is responsible. The forebrain hypothalamus contains a satiety center. When we eat food, the level of nutrients like glucose in the blood increases. This information is sent to the hypothalamus. The satiety center gets activated. It sends signal that suppress hunger. Now comes the involuntary actions. The involuntary actions are the actions that occur automatically without conscious control and are not under our will. For example, the beating of the heart, breathing, movement of food in the alimentary canal, dilation and contraction of pupil, and sweating. And the beating from the mother when you are playing instead of studying, what type of action is that? Do find out and let me know. Control of involuntary actions, controlled by the medulla oblongata and spinal cord. All are the involuntary actions like blood pressure, salivation, and vomiting is controlled by the medulla in the hindbrain, and it is regulated by the automatic nervous system. What brings the precision of voluntary actions? It is controlled by the cerebellum, a part of the hindbrain. Now, the voluntary actions are initiated by the cerebellum, and the cerebellum ensures that these actions are smooth, accurate, well coordinated, and it also maintains balanced posture and muscle coordination. The protection of the brain tissues. The brain tissues are well protected by the following structures: the skull or the cranium, a hard bony box that surrounds and protects the brain from any type of mechanical injury. Brain tissue protection involves multiple layers: the rigid skull, the three layered meninges, and the cushioning cerebrospinal fluid that also provides nutrients and removes the waste. The meninges are further three protective membranes covering the brain: outer tough layer, middle layer, and the inner delicate layer. The cerebrospinal fluid. It is present between the meninges. It acts as a shock absorber. It protects the brain tissues from injury. The spinal cord is also protected. It is protected by the vertebral column or the backbone. It is a bony structure that surrounds and protects the spinal cord. Now, the movement at the cellular level. The movement at the cellular level occurs due to special proteins and cell structures that are present inside the cells. Muscle movement happens due to the sliding of actin and myosin filaments over each other. Actin and myosin are contractile proteins present in the muscle cells, and they are responsible for muscle contraction and movement. When the nerve impulse reaches the muscle fiber, it causes the release of calcium ions inside the muscle cells. The myosin heads attach to actin filaments, forming cross bridges. Using energy from ATP, myosin pulls the actin inward, actin slides over myosin, and sarcomere shortens. A sarcomere is the smallest structural and functional unit of a muscle fiber. Shortening of the sarcomeres results in muscle contraction. When the ATP supply stops, the calcium ion is pumped back and muscle relaxes. So, calcium ions are pumped back, cross bridges break, and the muscle cell returns to its original length and shape, thus resulting in the relaxation of the muscle. This was the whole procedure of contraction and relaxation of muscle. So, in the simple notion of the movement at cellular level, it is that the muscle cells will move by changing their shape. Muscle cells have special proteins that change both their shape and their arrangement in the cell in response to nervous electrical impulse. The new arrangement of these proteins give muscle cells a shorter form, but I have discussed the whole process in detail for easy understanding. You write your answer as per the NCERT syllabus only. It is only for your knowledge that I have given. Now we must be able to differentiate between walking and reflex action. Walking is a voluntary, conscious action controlled by the brain, whereas the reflex action is involuntary, automatic response controlled by the spinal cord. Second question is, what happens at synapse between two neurons? Answer is, a nerve impulse or electrical signal reaches the axon terminal of the first neuron. This causes the release of neurotransmitters, the chemical substances, and the neurotransmitters are released into the synaptic cleft. It is the gap between the two neurons. They diffuse across the synapse. Neurotransmitters then bind to the receptor sites onto the membrane of the next neuron. This binding generates a new electrical impulse in the second neuron, and the nerve impulse then continues in one direction. Now, third question is, which part of the brain maintains posture and equilibrium of the body? Part of the brain that maintains posture and equilibrium is the cerebellum, as we have already studied previously. How do we detect the smell of an agarbatti or the incense stick? When agarbatti or incense stick is lit, it releases smell molecules in the air and we detect this smell through olfactory system in our nose. Agarbatti releases fragrant chemicals into the air. These smell molecules enter the nose during breathing and they dissolve in the mucus present in the nasal cavity. The molecules stimulate olfactory receptors located in the upper part of the nasal cavity. Olfactory receptors generate a nerve impulse. The impulse is carried by the olfactory nerve to the brain or the cerebrum. The brain interprets the impulse as smell, and hence we can identify the fragrance. What is the role of the brain in reflex action? This is the fourth question. Reflex actions are quick, involuntary responses. They are mainly controlled by the spinal cord through a reflex arc. The brain becomes aware of the stimulus and it records the experience and can modify the future responses. Example, pulling the hand away even before touching a hot object is due to prior experience. This was the function of the brain. In the next video, we will continue with the remaining chapter. Please do subscribe at least. Thank you for watching.